Hello, dear friends, and welcome to Monday, November 28th. Week 4 of NaNoWriMo has passed. We are now, the computer, we are now on week 5. Okay, so I need to explain a little bit because I did not end up having a vlog last week, and yeah, so let me just see if I can figure out how to explain this really quickly before we head into what may be my shortest vlog of the month. First of all, if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. I'm Joanna G. Holden. I am a fantasy author and author tuber, and my channel revolves largely around fantasy writing and series writing, as well as mommy author writing, since I'm also a mommy author. And this whole series on NaNoWriMo has been an interesting experiment almost, because the last time that I won NaNoWriMo was in 2019, and I had 2 kids, and I was on a roll for writing, and then 2020 happened. And needless, I feel like I just don't even need to say anything after that. But this year I have been working my butt off to try and win NaNoWriMo, not just to say that I won, but because I have not written a full novel in a while, and I really, 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 really want to write this book. This is a fairy tale retelling, a YA fairy tale retelling of the Wild Swans and the Six Swans, and I love it so much. So last week, I did manage to write, I think, pretty well on Monday. I think I even filmed it on Monday. But then Tuesday hit, and I was not feeling so great. My kids were sick, and the looming idea of the holiday was like right there in my face. And I only got about half of my word count finished. Understanding that I was coming off of almost 2 weeks at that point of having about 5,000 to 6,000 words hanging over my head that needed to be caught up from 2 days that I had, or excuse me, 3 days that I had missed writing completely, that I just felt like I was continually adding to. So by the time Wednesday came around, there was no time to write. I really should have given myself the day before the holiday to do cooking and prep and stuff, and I just didn't think about it. And now I know for next year, if I end up participating next year, I'll know to give myself several days during this week. I had already planned on taking Thanksgiving off, so fortunately I didn't have to worry about that. But then Friday came, and I just could not write. I was very overwhelmed. I was very tired. I couldn't write. There was no time to write, and I really needed to focus on my family, on myself, and on my house at that point in time. And that night, I just fell to pieces. I lost it. I was about ready to cry. I didn't actually succumb to crying, but I was very close. And I was trying to explain it to, some writerly friends, and I was complaining to my husband, and I was like, I feel like I can't do it all. There's not enough time to keep up with the house, to school and raise the children, to keep food on the table that is healthy for me, that everyone likes, and then to add writing in there, my wonderful writing. I was feeling so overwhelmed. And fortunately, I had a good long talk with a writer friend of mine who is also a mommy author, who just helped me to understand that there was no pressure for me to finish NaNoWriMo if I didn't want to, if I didn't feel like I needed to. There was no judgment if I chose never to write a book again. I ended that phone call feeling so much freer and so much more full of joy. Surprise, surprise, and a plot twist. The next day, I picked up the laptop and my writing skyrocketed. It felt like overnight. Saturday, I wrote 6,000 words in one day. Sunday night, a day I'm not even supposed to write, I got in 1,000 words. And then today, already this afternoon, I wrote 28,005 words. I am now almost exactly tied, and I'm looking at my graph here, that's why I keep looking down. I am almost exactly tied with where the Nano site says that I'm supposed to be in order to finish on the 30th. Am I the only one who occasionally will just sit there and say, 30 days, September, April, June, and November. Just remember how many days are in the month. The 30th. I'm like, okay, so now I've gone from, oh wow, I may never even need to write another book if I didn't want to, and now I'm back to, oh, I could win tonight if I wanted to. Because technically, I'm looking at where I'm at, 46,263 words. I'm less than 4,000 words away from winning. So even if I couldn't win tonight, which if I did, because it would take me several hours to write that many words, the Nano site would still technically say that I won tomorrow because time difference. But I would know that I won tonight. So my ideal goal would be write almost 4,000 words tonight. My much more realistic goal would be go ahead and write another 1,500 to 2,000 words tonight and get myself as close as I can. Either way, I'm going to sit down and shut up and write now because it is 8:41 in the evening and it's going to take me at least 2 hours to even skip what I want to do. It's going to take me about 2 hours just to get all these ideas out of my head. This is the part of the writing where I'm finally in tune with the characters. I'm finally feeling the flow of the story. It is there. I am writing scenes that are literally about to make me cry. I just wrote the scene where Eliza, our princess character, sees her brothers for the first time since they were placed under a curse. And she, because of the vow of silence that she has had to take to break the curse, cannot talk to them. And as I said, having to communicate via writing, and it is very, very difficult for her, and they are trying to understand, and they've all missed each other, they've all been worried for each other. They're just, the amount of emotions that I'm getting to write in this scene have me about ready to cry. So I'm going to go back and finish that scene, and I will talk with you at the end of the evening and see where I'm at, and either be ready to film again tomorrow, or be ready to say goodbye for the rest of Nano for this year. Let's see how it goes. I did. Literally 3 days after thinking that I was going to fail entirely, I wrote 6,626 words today. And I did it. I did 50,094 words in 1 month. I am so tired. And I have a headache. So I am not going to try verbally processing any of this right now. I am going to go to bed. And when I get up in the morning and I've had something to eat, we can talk. Good night. All right, we are here on November the 30th. I have had a full 2 days to think back through the month, to analyze the Preptober process, the actual NaNoWriMo process, and to look at the pros, to look at the cons, to figure out the things that did work for me, the things that didn't, why, and then, of course, how I can utilize all of this analysis to springboard me into a successful writing season in 2023. So first things first, let's just look at where the story was and what I accomplished during NaNoWriMo. It's not a pride thing. I think all of us need to sit and just look back at what we've done and understand that we did do something before we move forward, because that pull of self-doubt and belittling our own achievements is so prevalent among us writers and such a huge draw. I think it's very important, not that we congratulate ourselves and pat ourselves on the back and think, wow, how great we are, but that we are like, you know what? Yes, I did do good work this month, and here's what I did, and here's what I'm proud of. So over the month of Preptober, October, and you're going to hear somebody in the background because I have a little here. Over the month of October, I successfully managed to go through 2 separate Preptober workbooks to analyze 2 different stories, both a fairy tale retelling and a fantasy romance that I was hoping to work on again in the future. And I managed to get the first act of the book that I was working on for Nano outlined pretty detailed, as well as having a list of scenes for the rest of the book that I could work off of in the future. Then during NaNoWriMo, I did the 50,000 words and like 49 or something like that. I made it to the big finish line 2 days early, despite being plagued with missing days and not feeling like I was able to catch up, being 6,000 words behind like half of the month. I still did it. I pulled through, and huge thanks to my family who not just endured my absences but encouraged me through them, to my husband who encouraged me, and to my writerly friends. You know who you are. You pushed me to finish, and I will never stop being grateful to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also during this month, I not only managed to get those words done, I managed to write, and I'm going to check the exact number here, 41,421 words of a new book, including completing the entirety of Act 1. I discovered my character's voice, my main character, Eliza. I got her from the very beginning, to her brothers being cursed, to her having to run away to find a way to break the curse, to now she's in the middle of trying to get to this new land where she will be able to break the curse, but it comes with such a heavy cost and she's starting to feel it. And I love it. I love it so much. I definitely fell in love with the story this month. Not that I was not already totally in love with it, but there's a difference from being in love with an idea and being in love with the actual story as you're writing it. It is a beautiful experience, and I got to experience it this month, so that was huge. This is only the 4th or 5th time that I've won NaNoWriMo in many, 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 many more times of attempting it. And so I want to take a look at the pros and the cons specific to this year, not just how I won, how I managed to catch up and to do all that, but what it actually looked like for me, because as we'll be seeing in a little while, it definitely changed my perspective on Nano in a way that it hasn't before. You want to take your jacket off? Here's your jacket. You're welcome. The first pro that I experienced this Nano, that is always the case with Nano, was a deadline that jump-started the writing process and pushed me through the most difficult part of the novel, the beginning. Y'all, I do not think that I have struggled this hard with the first couple of chapters of a book in a long time. And the fact that the struggle to really get into the excitement of the story lasted throughout the whole first act, even though I could, like, logically see this is a good story, this is decent writing, like, this is a good, strong opening. I wasn't feeling it. It took me the entire first act to feel it. And NaNoWriMo pushing me just to get through it allowed me to get through it and to get to the parts of it that I could really just latch onto and just get taken for a ride. So this deadline definitely pushed me through to that. The second would be that I found something that worked for me, and I'm going to talk about this more in a little while, but I managed to not only prep and write all of those words and that first act, I also managed to outline the rest of the first half of this book as a part of my word count, which allowed me to reach my goal in the total of the 4 weeks that it took. Also, I realized that, you know, during this writing process, this really works for me. Writing a quarter of the novel and then outlining the next quarter and then writing that quarter and then outlining the next quarter is perfect. I had never thought of it in this formulaic of a way, but it genuinely works. And I'm gonna have to pause because my husband just showed up. It allowed me to take the new material that I was developing as I was fleshing out scenes and figuring out connections as I was writing, and implement it into the next part of the outline, something that I would not have been able to do had I just outlined the entire had I done what I normally try to do and sit back and outline the entire book, which sometimes does work for me. I would have just had to change the outline as I went, which would have felt like more work because I felt like I already spent all the time to outline it, and now I'm having to change it, and in some cases completely redo things. So this allowed me to have that list of scenes, right? That knowledge of where I'm going, but they were very vague scenes. And then having the quarter outline, I was able to just go through very quickly, and then take what I had done and implement it as I outline the next quarter, and make new ties and new foreshadowing, and pull through new plot threads that I did not have previously, or even notice redundancies that I don't know that I would have noticed in just an outline. So I think I'm going to take this, and again, I'm going to mention this later in what my takeaways are, but I'm definitely liking this write a quarter, plot a quarter, write a quarter, plot a quarter. I think I'm going to see where this takes me. Another huge pro to NaNoWriMo is the community. Everybody talks about this. I have not always experienced it because I tend to be very reclusive. I tend to still be introverted even online and not, you know, go out and seek to be a part of all the chat rooms and all of this and all of that. And I've even resisted writing sprints before because depending on, you know, my writing session, they can pull me out of the story. You know, when that timer goes off, I'm pulled out of the story, and now all of a sudden I've lost the magic. I did not experience that this month because the magic was so elusive. The writing sprints within a community were super helpful because they pushed me to keep going in a positive way. There was a lot of encouragement. There was a lot of back and forth. There wasn't even really any competition. It was just like, oh wow, everybody's doing so great. Let's do another sprint. You know, who wants to go for another one? And it was really helpful to know that at any time during the day, pretty much, I could just go on and somebody would be online in this group, and I would be able to ask for sprints and who else was writing, and we could work out a sprint. That was massively encouraging, and it definitely helped me to get, especially the last week, it definitely helped me to get my words in. And then finally, filming weekly vlogs. What a great way to be able to capture these moments and to kind of track my progress through this novel in a way that will allow me to look back and remember and be inspired that yes, I can do this, I did do this, it's going to be okay. And also a way to hopefully share with others and again with the community, just contributing to the community by kind of being vulnerable and being open and saying this is what the struggle is, these are what the victories are, and you totally can do this as well. Now we get to talk about my least favorite part, which is the cons, because let me tell you, just looking at my notes, there were some definite cons to NaNoWriMo this year, and it's something that I don't like to talk about usually because I know that there's like whole videos out there that are like why you shouldn't participate in Nano, listing all of the things probably that I'm fixing to list and many, many more. And the truth is that it doesn't always work for everyone, and I definitely am going to need to rethink how I want to do NaNoWriMos in the future because this, while it was an epic experience in one way, it was also a very stressful and unpleasant even experience in another, and that's what I'm going to be looking at in this cons section. The first con was the deadline. As inspiring as it was to push me through, it was insanely stressful to me and completely robbed me of the joy of just discovering the story and writing the story. Now, self-enforced deadlines are something that all indie authors have to eventually learn to come to terms with, but this wasn't one that I had really set for myself. This was one that I was joining in that was someone else's, and while it's definitely something that I think I will be using in the future to some degree, it's such a high standard for someone who is in the seat that I'm in currently that it was one that maybe I think it wasn't as helpful as I would have liked it to be. Just the mental health and emotional health aspect. And I'm going to read what I wrote here. I could only enjoy the writing when I let go of the hope of meeting the deadline, which feels a bit conflicting with the purpose of the deadline. I'm just going to leave that there. Second con was the word count. The daily word count was absolutely doable, but missing days and then having to double up on word count was not. In previous nanos, on other book projects, it has been doable to just double up words and keep going. But what I found during this particular project, again, because it took me so long to get into the excitement and the passion of writing the story, it was very hard just to meet the 2,100 word goal every day, let alone do a 4K day on days when I was already struggling. I mentioned it, I think, in the last video that I did, but I found myself wanting to tap out at about the 2,000 word mark. Like, that was perfect. But missing a day and having to catch it up, it didn't work. Which leads to the third con, which was that this nano writing was not an escape. Any and all life happenings were just like, all they did was make me want to tap out of the writing faster. It wasn't normally when I'm writing and life gets stressful, I dive into my writing to get away from it all. And this nano, the writing wasn't a stress reliever for me anymore. It was a contributing stressor. So I was going and being completely alone and doing nothing, because, going for a walk, watching TV, reading a book, whatever, just to get away from it, just to get away from the writing and the life. And it was very, very difficult to find my joy in that writing as my means of relieving stress. And when writing is a stress to me, it becomes a problem. I am not someone who handles well naturally a lot of different stress factors, and writing was kind of what was helping me to cope. And when that was gone, the coping just wasn't happening. So it was not a very pleasant experience for a good 3 weeks out of the month. The final con was the weekly vlogs were a drain. Some days it was easy. I was just, I'm filming while I'm writing and I'm talking and it was exciting. And then other days I could not make myself pick up a camera because I just needed to focus on the story and then put it aside and not think about the stress about the writing, going back to writing being a stress factor, let alone having to talk about how badly I felt that I was doing. You know, I was sitting over here struggling with, I may not be able to complete Nano this year. I'm so far behind. I do not have the, I can't. And I didn't want to talk about it because that makes for a really depressing vlog. You know, not that I have to, I never lie on this channel. I never try to give some fake idea that I have it all together or that I'm constantly happy. But I really didn't want to do a downer video, if that makes any sense. And to me, that would have been a downer to myself to have to make and then edit and then upload a video like that. It was definitely worth it. But I definitely don't want to do it again anytime soon. Not like in every single week filming all of my writing sessions. It's not, I don't need to be doing that right now. And it was really honestly good insight into where I'm at this season of my life as far as my YouTube channel goes, what I need to focus on, and then what will be a drain to me in the future. So honestly, it was a very good experience. And now we get to the much, much, much more fun part of the vlog, which is the takeaways. What I have learned from all the pros and the cons that I experienced over both October as Preptober and November as NaNoWriMo. The number one thing that I learned about myself as a writer, the season I'm in, all of this, is that soft deadlines work great for me. Hard deadlines do not. Explanation, the soft deadline is where I say, okay, I want to write the book. It looks like I can write it in about 3 months. Let's see if we can do this, and aim to do it in 3 months, but understand that if I miss a couple of days, it's okay. If I go past that deadline, it's okay. My entire career does not ride on me hitting that deadline. A hard deadline, on the other hand, is where I have other things lined up after this deadline, and if I don't meet this deadline, then everything else in my timetable is thrown off, and I have to recalculate, and then I have to scramble to figure things out. I can't do that. I'm sorry. That makes me completely lose any ability to function, and I hate it, and I refuse to do this again to myself because, and I wasn't even necessarily doing it on purpose. I had in my head, oh, if I finish this book by the end of the year, then I can do this the next month, and then I can do this in April, and then I can do this in June, and then I can publish the book in this month, and then it'll be great. And then the more that I was seeing that myself not hitting the word counts and missing, and then feeling like maybe I wouldn't be able to finish the book until the end of January, and then feeling this impending sense of I may not finish this book at all, I started panicking, and it really affected me, and I'm realizing that I just cannot do that. I have to have a soft deadline, one where I do push myself, and I do give myself this time frame, but that is a loose enough time frame with enough freedom from expectations following that I can make a plan afterward. And this is something that I have actually been thinking about for a very long time now, is this idea of completing a first draft before I make any other plans for the book. No other deadlines, no other expectations, just to finish the book and see what shape the book is in after I'm done. If I even want to publish this book afterward, if it's going to need a complete rewrite, if it's basically is pretty much ready to just do a quick pass through with the betas and then head off to editing, like that would ever happen. I feel like if I can focus on one deadline at a time, and I can keep that deadline loose enough that there is room for failure, that there is room for taking longer than I mean to, or for finishing way earlier, and the timeline's not messed up, then I can really thrive in the peace and freedom of the writing that I do best in. The second takeaway, community is helpful, but only in small doses. I am not a hardcore introvert. I need people around me to feel safe and secure. However, it is a very small group that I need to be in contact with daily, and I still need a lot of space, even from those people, to feel whole and to feel healthy and to feel like I have something to give during the day to those people that I love. I knew that community was helpful in writing. I've always known this. It was especially beautiful this month to see complete strangers encouraging me and me being able to encourage them and being able to participate in writing events. It was super helpful. But I really struggled with the idea of being a part of all the conversations, being in and out of the chat rooms all day long. I am not in a place right now where I can just be on Messenger or Discord or Facebook or Instagram or whatever and constantly be checking messages. I have kids to school. I have a house to take care of. I have books to write. I have other opportunities throughout the day that I really would like to be able to devote my focus to. And being on social media on a consistent basis is not healthy for me. Not just for all of the many reasons, but because I don't need that much people. I can't do that much people. It's too much for me. and it can be very draining. It can be a spiral, and I will end up wasting my time and doing nothing. So community is good, but in small doses. From here on out, I think I'm going to have to just very intentional to make, schedule in author calls, make sure that I'm talking with my writer buddies, scheduling in times every week where I can go to our like very small closed off Facebook group that I'm a part of and share all the spoilery details and brainstorming questions and things and Facebook Lives and posts and things, but then let that kind of be the most that I do and focus on just doing maybe once a week or twice a week, doing sprints and chats with the groups, and making sure that I have at least one day a week where I am not on my phone at all. Probably it'll be Sundays. And make sure that I'm spending a lot of time with my kids, with hubby, with, the things that I love that bring me joy, that refill my well every day. Another huge thing that I learned, both in Preptober and this month, was that I am a multiple project writer. Now, I'm not the kind of person who can bounce back and forth between projects every day and every week and still actually make progress on them. Focusing on one project at a time during a month is actually very helpful. But the whole month and all of October, I was coming up with tons of ideas for all these other projects, high fantasy and fantasy romance and fairy tales and, science fiction out of nowhere, just all of the different things. And if I do not give myself frequent opportunities to work on those things, it will drive me crazy for for multiple reasons. The most important reason is that I am a massive idea person. A tons of ideas person, and ideas are constantly coming into my head and forming themselves into stories person. When I was in the middle of the month and I was having all these ideas for stories, one of the things that really affected me the most was a realization that because stories are like continuing to come to me, even though I already have so many, I will never be able to write all of the books that I can come up with ideas for. It's just never going to happen. That was so depressing. It was so, like, I genuinely couldn't write for a whole day when I suddenly thought of that. I was like, why would I even bother? Because I will never be able to write all of the books that I want. Even just the number of books that I had already had at that point before all the new ones were added was going to take decades of writing. And there's always this thought in the back of my head, I need to push, I need to write faster, I need to try and get the books written so that I can actually get them written. And when I had that realization, my first reaction was, well, then why try? Why bother? Like, I can't ever write them all, so why should I even try to write them all? And then it switched over eventually to a freedom, at this feeling of, well, I can't write them all, so I should be able to just write as I go and, take some time to work on stuff as I want to. And that has led up to one of my favorite parts of this takeaway, which is a new goal for 2023. And that is to plan a little bit of time at the end of every month to work on projects that are so far in the future that I doubt that I'll even get to them, and let myself work on whatever I want to for them. So a new goal of mine for 2023 is to allow myself a little bit of time at the end of every week, once I have gotten like my goals for the week accomplished, give myself some guilt-free time to work on these projects, whether that be aesthetics, Pinterest and playlist binging, literally just dreaming about these projects while going on walks with epic playlists in the background. Creating character arcs, outlining, even drafting scenes. I had this idea in my head of just letting myself write the books. Not like sit down and write the whole book, but write a scene, write a couple of scenes, and just kind of see where it takes. And worst case scenario, at the end of, however long it takes me to write the books that I already have planned out to write, I'll have all this material ready to go, and I'll be ready to sit down and write these new books, and it'll be amazing. And even if I never write them, I will always have these that I can look back on, and I can enjoy reading, and I can enjoy working on in the meantime. Just guilt-free time to work on it, and no pressure whatsoever to make it something publishable. Another huge takeaway is that vlogging, social media, and other methods of self-promotion are definitely doable, but only if I juggle them. Only if I balance them. Only if I'm not trying to do all of them at once. Something that I found myself doing in Nano was I would be able to vlog. I'll have a day, I'll just be vlogging, and I'm taking the camera around, and it's really coming naturally, I'm having fun. I do not feel like posting that day, or really most of that week. A really good vlogging week, I really don't feel like posting that week. Because it takes a lot of energy for me, apparently, to figure out what I want to talk about, what I want to put up pictures of or reels about. And it's just too much creativity going on, especially if I'm actually trying to write books. So what I want to try doing from here on out is focus on doing one or the other at a time. So one week I'll really focus on filming a vlog, whether that be a day in the life vlog or more of a like, this is my journey, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm learning and sharing with you guys, or sharing with you guys some tips that I'm picking up along the way. And then switch off to another week where I'm doing more posts and updates and maybe even creating post content on the computer on my phone that I can later pull out and do an effortless post, an effortless, this or that, and be able to just kind of keep it going a little bit more carefree. And if this sounds a little bit hands off for someone who's trying to make a business out of their writing, that is the final takeaway that I have from NaNoWriMo. And that is that I am not ready right now to be a full-time indie author. I know, shocker. I did a vlog, a whole thing in 2020 after the birth of our youngest, where I discussed the pros and the cons of rapid release authors and the fact that I felt that I was never going to be that person and that I was totally fine with that. That's not really the calling that I have, the way that my writing works. It wasn't going to work for me. And this month I made kind of another step in that discovery journey, which is that where I'm at right now, I'm just not ready to take the business side of writing, and make it my full-time focus. I am just now starting to really get into the heavy duty of school with my kids, and even that being said, we're really not doing that much with school. Like, it's very simple with a second grader and a kindergartner, but it's still work. And I'm still having to take care of the house, and I'm still having to cook meals and to menu plan for my health needs and for my family's health needs. That was something that hit me massively middle of the month. I was looking at the mess, I was looking at the chaos, I was looking at, the constant need for my attention, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I am not in a season right now where I can make being an author my full-time commitment, or even really a part-time commitment. I am at a point right now where I need to be focusing on honing my craft, on actually writing the books, on learning more about the self-publishing process as far as like the professional edits and the professional cover design and the professional formatting and figuring those things out. Once those are much more in the flow, then I can really start to focus on things like marketing and making money off of my books and things like that. It's doable. It's just not something I need to focus on right now. So for right now, that is exactly what I'm planning on doing. I am planning on focusing on honing my craft, on writing these books, on getting lots of books written, on figuring out what routines work for me and what habits work for me, on getting consistent with my daily writing, on speeding up the process of refining the plot during the writing process so that it does not take me 10 drafts to get something that is usable for editing. Just until this season ends. This season will not last forever. I will not always have littles. I will not always be living in a camper. I will not always, be juggling all of these different life things. Eventually it's going to shift, and it will be new challenges. It will be different. But my timetable is going to look different when my kids are older and can handle different responsibilities on their own and are kind of doing their own thing. It's going to shift. My timetable will look different. And so for right now, I'm letting myself enjoy the process of just getting the books written. Actually seeing myself finish and complete books is huge to me. Seeing myself self-publish these books with beautiful covers and beautiful formatting and very well edited and written, that is huge to me. And I will continue to do YouTube vlogs, and I'll continue to promote my books on Instagram and on Facebook, but I'm not really super focused on figuring out this massive elaborate marketing plan, on figuring out all of these massive campaigns, on getting hundreds of thousands of viewers and of readers, and of developing a fan base. I'm just not there yet, and it's okay. The focus is on the word yet. Right now, I'm going to be writing the books. I'm going to be focusing on really editing well, on collecting a large group of beta readers, hopefully over the next couple of years, and really finding my voice as an author and finding my stride as an author. And then after the season passes, I will get back into the studying of writing as a business, and it will be not just okay, it will be phenomenal. And at the end of this process, if nothing else, I'll have a massive backlist of books for new readers to go through and find all these fun books, and hopefully discover me as an author then. So those are my massive takeaways from Nano of 2022 and Preptober of 2022. This has definitely been a rewarding month, but it's not been rewarding in the way that I was thinking it was going to be, and in a way it's kind of a relief. Writing is my passion, is one of my passions, and I was very afraid for a couple of weeks that I was going to have to make a video saying, I'm not coming back on YouTube for a while until I figured this out. It was a genuine concern for me. It was a genuine fear that I was going to have to give up writing because I wasn't good enough or because I just couldn't manage my time well enough. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what? It's not me. It's the system that I'm trying to work with. And that is okay. So I hope that you are taking from this encouragement, inspiration, the knowledge that if you are struggling through Nano, or I guess at this point have struggled through Nano, or if you've been struggling with your writing in general and life in general, you're not alone. There are many of us who are right there with you. In fact, really all of us are right there with you. And this season, as my grandmother says, this too shall pass. Eventually, we're going to get back to the business side, to the self-publishing, marketing plans, all of the things, and I really look forward to it. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy where I'm at. That is all that I have for you guys today. I hope that you really enjoyed this. If you did, please be sure to like this video. Comment down below what you have learned over this month, whether you participated in Nano or not. And be sure that you hit the notification bell on the way out and that you are subscribed so that you will continue to see more content like this, more analysis of the writing journey, of the way that I write my books, of all the tips and things that I'm picking up as I go, and the things that I am finding that do not serve me. Hopefully it will provide encouragement and inspiration. I love you all so, so very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.